I'm not too worried about the price really. It's really like an iceberg, Paula. You can see the price on top, but underneath there is a whole market of other stuff going on with MicroStrategy, which is now Strategy, um, buying up almost 500,000 coins. And, these little solo miners that have come out in the last 2 years, very new. So taking a little bit of power away from like the centralized public miners is going to be like a little bit of a game changer going forward.
Today, I'm excited to welcome Jordan back to the podcast. Jordan is from the Bitcoin class of 2017, a strategy investor, and our go to millennial voice on the show. Great to see you again, Jordan.
How we doing, Paula?
Good today.
All right. I got my little special guest with me today. It's a solo Bitcoin miner. It's called a Bitaxe. We'll get to that later, but I just want to introduce the elephant on the screen. So everything's good though. Everything's good. We're sitting at like $85,000 after complete madness of Trump being elected and a bunch of really good news. It seems like we should be higher, but you know how the markets go. What's going on with your side? Anything good?
Yeah, I'm just, continuing the podcast. I'm enjoying the journey. And it's funny you mentioned that because that was one of my very first questions that we've got all this positive news and the US Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. I mean, that's positive. And Bitcoin's hanging around 84. What do you make of this cycle? Are things changing?
Yeah, so I think when these big people are buying, I think it's over the counter, and I don't think it affects markets like we think. And so I think people are, I think governments are buying, and there's clearly big businesses buying. So I'm not too worried about the price really. It's really like an iceberg, Paula. You can see the price on top, but underneath there is a whole market of other stuff going on with MicroStrategy, which is now Strategy, buying up almost 500,000 coins. And, these little solo miners that have come out in the last 2 years, very new. So taking a little bit of power away from like the centralized public miners is going to be like a little bit of a game changer going forward. So those are two things that right off the bat I could think of. This little guy is pretty sweet. Every 10 minutes, as you know, three coins are let into the Bitcoin network. And so this is a lottery ticket every 10 minutes. This little guy is guessing blocks and numbers to try to get the three coins every 10 minutes. So it only, the electricity,
3.5 coins, right?
3.15. Yeah, plus
Okay.
fees, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. But this little guy, it's like charging a phone. So it costs 10 cents to run. So it costs 10 cents to run a day, and you're a lottery ticket for three Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So like instead of buying a dollar lottery ticket every day, that's pretty expensive with numbers that you're not even going to hit because this is more likely than the public lottery. It's kind of wild to think about. So I got this thing running every 10 minutes, like I'm like praying. I look at like my wallet almost every couple of days. Doesn't I mean, it's more of a I've learned more with this thing than I did thinking I'm actually going to hit a block. It's just cool looking, and underneath here is a chip that can do what no other computer can do. So it's specific to Bitcoin. So this like there's a bunch of these running the network and protecting our money. So it was really cool to set this thing up and be like, okay, so I'm paying just a little bit of cents to like help protect everyone. So it's like I'm on team everyone. And so instead of Amazon running these things, these are decentralized and open source. So I mean, these are made by people. This isn't a Bitaxe isn't a company. Bitaxe is just a name that someone came up with to make these like kind of appealing. But it's an open source chip. It's a single ASIC chip in there that's being cooled. So most big miners have about like I don't know 100 of these chips in there. So this has one single tiny little ASIC chip. It's pretty cool. Like to just look at that.
It is cool. And could you have more than one?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, it only gets 1 terahash, which is about, a normal big miner gets about 100 terahash. But this thing can plug into a normal outlet into a home. Most of these Bitcoin miners, you have to have, industrial grade, like laundry outlets that you plug in with your dryers. So this thing plugs right into like your normal outlet. So it's like the first miner you can run inside your house, and you can hear it's not really loud. Like it's so most of Most of the issues with Bitcoin are noise and heat and moving the heat. So this thing is quiet and it doesn't produce much heat. I mean, it's a single ASIC chip. So that's what's really neat about this thing is you're being a part of the network and it's super quiet. And to be honest, like you could just stick your finger here and it'll heat your finger if like it could be a hand heater or anything. It's not producing, it's not warming my room, which is really nice. But definitely a game changer, really cool. Bitaxe. I'm not paid for that by them or anything, by the way. I just think this is a really cool product for Bitcoin. Not paid by them or anything.
It is a cool product. I've spoken to a couple of mining experts, and they have said that spreading the miners out will actually protect the network long term rather than have them all centralized in a couple of big companies. So that is cool.
Yeah, it's like when you play the lottery, a lot of people do office pools, like their whole office gets together and buy a bunch of lottery tickets. So that's usually what miners are doing. They're saying, "Yo, you wanna like all team up and we can just all do this together and split the rewards like you would with your friends." So these are more just like I just want to buy one or two tickets by myself, which it's a small ticket every 10 minutes. It's not very powerful because it can't guess a lot of numbers, but it's still guessing some numbers. So you have a chance. And I think one of these have hit these about once a month the past couple of months. So it's possible that there has been bid axes that have gotten blocks. So it's possible, which is
That
all
is
really
cool.
Bitcoin is hope. You just want some sort of hope to wake up to. Yeah, very cool.
That is very cool. And speaking of that, you have a link on your X profile to hope.com. What have you been learning lately?
Hope.com is Michael Saylor's whole website of everything. Like I think it's like a Bitcoin school on hope.com. But I mean that's what Bitcoin represents to me is that our money will be worth more tomorrow than it is today. So say it encourages and incentivizes saving, instead of spending and just consuming everything you can. You want to be conservative and save for tomorrow because usually tomorrow comes. I mean, I know you want to say tomorrow sometimes doesn't come, but most of the time it does. So you want to be prepared for it most of the time. And that's usually what Bitcoin is hope just for your money in general. This is hope, and Bitcoin and the network is hope for people that are for the money that flows through our economy, that flows through the world instead of government dollars that are deteriorating physical dollars.
Yeah, I'm going to get into a little bit more of that later. But you mentioned strategy, and I know you're a strategy investor. And
Yeah.
yeah, we saw that Michael Saylor bought more, and that I read that
Or
each share is now worth 176,253 sats, which is approximately $150 per share. And
pretty cool.
MicroStrategy is around $300 a share now. But why is there so much confusion with MicroStrategy?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I wouldn't, this is not financial advice, but I would say for a Bitcoiner, anything other than Bitcoin is extremely, it's just sketchy and we don't really trust it. But this is the first other investment that I've made that is a major investment. I mean, I'll say over 1,000 shares of strategy, of common shares. And I think it's because, for 4 years, Michael Saylor has been transparent. He's told us I'm gonna buy at the top every time. I don't really care. I don't really try to time it. I'm just accumulating the best asset, and it doesn't really matter. And so he's transparent and tells us when he's buying, and he's got this whole layer underneath it with convertible bonds, which are extremely new to me. But underneath strategy are options and are now these new ETFs, Strike and Strife. So you could put your money in Strike or Strife and you get guaranteed 10% dividends for those. I think it's 10% for Strife and Strike is 8% or either or. So convertible bonds are usually stocks that you pay for and you get guaranteed income. So guaranteed cash from 10% or whatever the dividend amount is. So but this is convertible bonds priced in basically Bitcoin. It follows Bitcoin's price instead of the global stock market's price. So if you want a convertible bond that is tied to an asset that trades 24/7 and there's no liabilities of humans and anything else in the regular physical world, I think this is a crazy game changer. Convertible bonds, basically you buy them and you have the option of either if it doesn't go up, you can convert that stock into what is another company. So Strike and Strife, you can hold those, and if at any time you can convert it into MicroStrategy. I believe that's correct. And so it creates like this whole market underneath. He's trying to steal a little bit of the convertible bond market, which is kind of crazy. I haven't really wrapped my mind about it around it fully of the new ones, but I know MicroStrategy has the most Bitcoin out of every public company, and that's all I really care about, and that's why I put so much money in there. Is it makes sense because they're so far ahead of everybody else. There's no way any other public company can accumulate 500,000 Bitcoin without moving the price like ridiculous amounts. So it's super interesting what he's done, and I'm putting a lot of faith in him. So we'll see what's going on, but that's not financial advice. I'm being pretty degenerate with the amount of money, but when you see an opportunity, you really got to go through for the throat and for the jugular. And I'm really going for the throat with MicroStrategy. I think it's so undervalued with, like you said, the amount of Bitcoin that you get per share. Bitcoin per share. That's what we should be talking about. Extremely, that's a new thing. I mean, you never even thought about that before. So once Wall Street prices that in, I could reprice the stock completely.
Yeah, I've always heard that MicroStrategy is a leverage play on Bitcoin. And for many of the reasons you mentioned, they have all these instruments to improve their business. And also that even though he has taken out quite a lot of debt, he's got much lower debt than everybody thinks.
Yeah, the debt, I mean, Bitcoin can go to $3,000 and he would just issue MicroStrategy shares. He wouldn't have to sell any Bitcoin. So it's a lot different if you really look under the hood of what he's building. It's impossible to really understand the Mag 7 stocks and real estate and which strategy now. It's impossible to really like look at all these things. So when you really look at strategy and what that's doing, definitely extremely bullish. For the Bitcoin world, it's kind of like buying a public Bitcoin miner. You instead of supporting the network through a Bitcoin miner, you're just giving the money to Saylor and he's gonna buy Bitcoin with it. So it's kind of a bet on the flow of liquidity to Bitcoin through MicroStrategy instead of through pure Bitcoin, if that makes sense. Because Wall Street they just want exposure to the asset. They don't really care how. They really don't care about the sovereignty. MicroStrategy, very bullish. I think it's like it should be a $600 stock. I think it's like 280, 290 right now.
Yeah, and that would all depend on whether we are still in a bull market, which we're hoping we still are. But when
Yeah.
it does correct, MicroStrategy will probably also correct a lot more than Bitcoin.
Yeah, but also it just depends because it corrects a lot of the time because Saylor is selling the stock. When he doesn't sell the stock, I don't think people are selling MicroStrategy a lot of the times. A lot of the time when Bitcoin's down, MicroStrategy isn't down too much. So it's very interesting to see what's going on with what he's got. Definitely not telling anyone to gamble on that, but I would definitely put some money in there for sure.
So you're planning to hold for the long term?
Yeah, I think MicroStrategy is leaps and bounds above any other Bitcoin company you can possibly get. It's hard to understand because you can't understand it within the time of this podcast, but it's once you plugged into the Bitcoin nuclear reactor, which is what Bitcoin is gigantic compressed energy. It brings a lot of energy to whatever it is plugged into it, which is strategy. I mean, you could see the stock price talks for itself, so you just gotta dig under the hood a little bit more to understand that asset.
Absolutely. So, on a lighter note, I saw one of your ex tweets about you're the Bitcoin guy at the gym. So, tell us how your orange pilling is going at the gym. Is anybody into it?
Yeah, I got a big mouth at the gym sometimes. There's a lot, a lot of the older guys, when I go is in the morning, when everyone's going to work because I work from home a lot of the times. And these old guys are looking for the investment to keep their retirement going because the money's running out. You can tell on the look on their face. Nvidia and Apple and Google aren't producing enough profits anymore. Like these people with Social Security and retirement, the money has to come from somewhere because it's running out. The prices are rising and they can't go back to work. So it's almost like they'll have no choice but to plug into the Bitcoin reactor pretty soon. When people do ask me about it, they're very interested. It just takes so long to understand this stuff, but they, you know, anything that's consistent as Bitcoin, it'll stay in their head, and it just takes some time. But yeah, I am the Bitcoin basketball player at LA Fitness in Jacksonville Beach. So if anyone's in Atlantic Beach, come say what up.
Come and have a Bitcoin meetup at the gym. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It'd be crazy if we hit a block while this was going. That'd be insane.
That would be so cool. Well, we're pretty lucky, so I think you're going to do it. It's just a matter of time. So, on that note, and I know you're no expert on the government, but with all the positive things happening in the government, we're cutting expenses, we're supposedly buying Bitcoin somehow, not with taxpayer dollars, but we're going to buy Bitcoin or have Bitcoin on the reserve. And even with all this, we still know that the government's going to have to continue to print money, even with a more positive outlook for our finances. So Bitcoin is still the go-to. Like you said, Social Security is not going to be able to help most people retire.
I mean, most people couldn't, most of the Social Security couldn't invest in it because it's, once the government has now legitimized it and says it's safe and we're not going to get arrested and people aren't going to come knock on our doors because we're mining, I think, it's a lot, people are more relaxed about it. Like I said, in LA Fitness, now that they talk about it on CNBC, it's not rat poison anymore. It's now actually legitimate. Trump actually talks about it like he knows what he's talking about, but he's not gonna. It's legitimate now. It's not for drug dealers and gang members. Once the world figures out what it is, just like any other technology, it takes time, but we haven't seen anything like it in a really long time. So once the secret's out, it's out.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, it takes a while for people to really understand Bitcoin.
Even with the tariffs, they don't affect Bitcoin. For Bitcoin to go down when they announce tariffs is just a macro environment type of thing. It's just global liquidity going down. Bitcoin doesn't care about what country you're in. So it really does it's a digital property, so it doesn't even need any borders or any lines to cross over. Again, it's one of those fragile assets where it doesn't have a vulnerable spot to it. You can shut down everything. You could even shut off the electricity. As soon as you turn the electricity on, this thing will boot right back up where it left off, and it'll continue where it left off. So it's the only thing that just doesn't have the vulnerability to it. So until the government figures out that, then we're buying low.
Yeah, good opportunity. So you mentioned earlier that you think about what you spend your money on. You have a low time preference now, is what I got out of that. Do you think that is something that you changed, or is that something since you found Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think that's something that I found Bitcoin. When the price goes up, you can maybe spend a little extra on guacamole at Chipotle. When it goes down, you want to be more conservative and try to accumulate more of the real money, of the end game money of Bitcoin. I mean, I follow my budget to the price of Bitcoin. Now that it's up, or not now that it's down, I'm being more conservative with my bills and what I'm buying because you want to get the low interest rates, or just like anything else, uh, you want to change your strategy. No pun intended. But yeah, when people ask me like, what do you do when it goes up? You just sell, or do you just stare at the price? I mean, it's more of like, what do you do when there's a sale at Whole Foods for what's something that you buy every day? You probably are like, oh, I'm gonna buy more, right? So like it's just like anything else. This is a larger scale. We've never seen anything like this, Paulo. It seems like too good to be true, but we've never seen anything like this. So you just got to go for it all. And so that's like what I've kind of done with BTC, is just kind of go for it all, because this opportunity only comes once in a lifetime with something that changes the culture, I guess, the culture of everything. So you kind of got to go for it and block out a lot of what people are saying, which is just, anything worth doing takes time. Building a business takes time. So you just got to keep going. That's all.
Yeah, you're right. We've never seen anything like it. We have never had a free market, a completely free market. So Because in a free market, we have deflation, and we never, our fiat based system cannot have deflation and survive. So that is why Bitcoin long term is going to continue to rise. That, and also because we're going to continue to print money.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Do you see yourself living on a Bitcoin standard one day?
I think that's what I'm doing now. A Bitcoin standard is the mindset I have now. It's just, I mean, not 100% of my net worth is in like pure Bitcoin, but yeah, the Bitcoin standard is just having a good amount of your net worth in a sovereign asset like Bitcoin and having it in probably cold storage and is just monitoring the economy with that asset, really. You don't have to pay attention to much other than the global stock market and Bitcoin. It's really there's just so much noise. You don't really need all that though in this new world.
And you actually guide some of your followers on X
Yeah,
with
I'm trying to
investing.
get a nice following. I'm just a normal guy that has found a way to make it easy in the normal guy life. So if you make if mid five figures and you're working like either from home or you're working a 9 to 5 and you just haven't hit that investment or that stock that blows out, it's it's because you haven't stuck with something long enough. And Bitcoin's something that you can stick with. I mean, it's just so cringe to say the word over and over again, but it really is true. I mean, this thing doesn't go away. It's not a company. It's not a person. It's a network. So get with it or get out of the way.
Yep. So I've heard a lot of people talk about that Bitcoin as an ego versus IQ. Which do you see Bitcoin more as, ego versus IQ journey?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's definitely you got to have a little bit of both. I think I've got a little bit of both. I've definitely got a lot of low IQ areas, departments in my head as well, but Bitcoin's one of the higher ones. But Bitcoin is an ego killer because you're not gonna get rich tomorrow. You still got to put in the work. You're not gonna get rich overnight, and I don't think life is about taking a little bit of risk, but enough to make it out. So if you want to study the stock market and take the big risk of finding the 10x, that's fine. Bitcoin's a 10x in 10 years. So if you want a 10x in 10 years, that's do you want to run the marathon or do you want to, sprint and bust all your energy in the first year? You got to run the marathon financially at least. But I don't know whether it's ego or IQ. It's for people like me and you, we wake up every day and we can't get Bitcoin out of our head because we're like, God, it's so obvious. But for other people, they just think about Bitcoin, they're just like, yeah, whatever. So it's I don't know what the trait is that me and you have where we see something and we're like, hello, like every day it's like hello. Uh, I'm not sure what that trait is, but it's a little bit of both, it feels. Yeah.
I was talking with somebody yesterday about that. She had me on her podcast, Stacy X, and she was saying, well, maybe it's for people who have ADD, but really somebody else said it's for people with an open mind. It's also for people who have found something in their life that needed a change or saw a problem. The problem could be the money, the problem could be inflation. Yeah, one of those
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah. Um, it seemed like before Bitcoin, something was wrong and I didn't know what it was. And when I found Bitcoin, I was like, okay, now I understand why most people feel this way or why things are that way. It just gave a little bit more clarity on why life was the way it was, I guess. A little bit more clarity.
Yeah, that's part of the deep rabbit hole. And I ask everybody lately, do you feel there's a spiritual side to Bitcoin?
There's definitely a spiritual awakening that you have when you fully connect and let go of the old ways that you have, because you kind of have to be spiritual to unlearn something that you've been taught for so long to fully connect with it. Because to connect with it, usually you need people around you and you need confirmation from peers. And so there's not a lot of confirmation around Bitcoin. There's never ever been. So, but it's the strongest it's ever been. So that's is confusing is we keep going hello and it keeps going getting bigger and the balloon just keeps, well, it's not a balloon, but it just keeps getting bigger and we're just going hello and nobody seems to care. So whatever. That's what I've learned to say is go, if everyone gets the Bitcoin at the price they deserve, that's the truth of it.
Yeah. Somebody else on my show said everybody gets Bitcoin when they're ready. It's just a little kinder way to say it, but you're absolutely right. Not
Yeah,
everybody is ready.
I don't know what gives us ideas sometimes, when you're sitting down, you have, oh, that's a great, I don't know what if that's God or how that happens, but when it happens to someone with Bitcoin, you have to like it's an awakening. It's something that does maybe take spirituality because some people don't ever hit that. They might not ever understand it, and that's okay. But it takes a certain trait.
And maybe some people think that they're too late to the game, the price is high, or they just don't need it like we've discussed before. They're quite
Yeah.
comfortable in their life and people don't like change too. And it is a change.
Yeah. I mean, it's everyone's life is completely different, whether you're an older person and you're low on money or you're high on money and where you live and your finances or how many bills you have. So everyone's time preference and finances are completely different. So whenever that path crosses your path, you got to be thankful because Bitcoin's going to be here whether anyone likes it or not. That's the truth of it. So get with it or get out the way.
Hard, cold truth.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's what it comes to like, a lot of the times, if in life when it comes to working out or doing anything hard, sometimes you got to hear the truth of, sorry, man, this sucks. But yeah, life sucks. Life is hard. So get with it or get out the way.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said in the beginning, Bitcoin is hope because well, many people come for number go up, but once they stay, they realize there's a lot more to this. And everything is downstream of money. Our whole society and our whole lives, we are paid in money or currency. And that's one way we store our energy and we give our energy for money. And when that's broken, everything else is broken below. And now we have Bitcoin, which not only is a store of value, but it's also a money.
Yeah, energy is super. It's like, if you think about that, like energy, what do you even mean? But every business has one thing, every sector, every market has one thing in common, and that's you need electricity to basically refrigerate us humans. You need electricity for us to live anywhere, to make food and to live. So the one common denominator, electricity in every market, um, electricity. Ah, so electricity with money. Yeah, once you understand that process, that you plug in an AC, you can then build an office, you can then build a stove, you can then make food, you can then live another day once you eat food, you can then work the next day so it's all a transfer of energy from once you have the energy compressed. Once you have it, you can use it to build everything.
Yeah. Some of the people that I've spoken to actually heat their homes with home miners. You're in Florida, as you mentioned, so you don't need the heat. But
Yeah, it's getting hot in my mining closet, but it's not too bad. But yeah, Florida is not the best place to mine Bitcoin, but it makes for an interesting experiment.
yeah,
But it's just like anything else. The computer that I'm using right now is generating just about more heat than this thing. So I mean, you don't know it, but most people don't think about it. But you pay your electricity bill for this thing to be on every day. Probably over $1 for a lot of people that are either playing video games or, photoshopping. So, I mean, energy is everywhere you look. You just don't know it.
yeah. And Bitcoin sometimes get a bad rap for using too much energy. But as we've heard, Bitcoin now chases the cheapest energy. And long term, it's going to be the most inexpensive energy that Bitcoin is mined with.
Yeah, it doesn't get any cheaper than or efficient than this guy. I mean, it's spilling, so it'll tell you it's pulling 15 joules, so 15 watts. That's an iPhone charging. So like you said, it's chasing efficient energy. Um, I mean, 1 terahash for 15 joules is really really good for what we've come starting from for Bitcoin.
Well, you have to let us know when you hit the Bitcoin.
When I hit the lottery block, the interview will be the next day.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else to end with?
Uh, I got nothing except for just everyone do your own research and make sure you buy some Bitcoin.
Stay humble, stack sats.
All right, bye, Paula.
Thanks, Jordan.